All right. Shalom, family. It's your brother Kanaiba coming at you once again with this video titled, Don't Lose Faith. Make the Right Choice. Jacob's Trouble, Dream Edition. Okay, so I know this is another peculiar thumbnail, right? But, the thumbnail actually goes into the dream I had last night. Okay. And it was a dream of Jacob's trouble. Okay. And of course, I want to expound on the dream, and I'm going to hit a few precepts concerning the dream, right? But the dream starts off with me pretty much outside, and I was outside of some type of shopping center. Now, it could have been a Walmart or what have you, but outside of this particular shopping center, the area where the shopping carts are usually at, it's more of a grassy area now, okay? And the grass is really high, so there really wasn't much upkeep that was going on in this particular store, right? But the funny thing is, I saw a lot of shopping carts outside, and then I saw this sister that looked like she could have worked there, and it was her and one other employee, and it looked like they were trying to bring carts in. But within the dream, I was thinking to myself, you know what, this looks like it could be a front for something else, because within the dream, I was thinking to myself, this looks like it could be more like a FEMA camp, so to speak, right? But anyway, as the dream goes on, I run into this older lady. Okay, she was an Israelite lady, and it was her, and it looked like it could have been her two grandsons, right? And it looked like they were there maybe to help cut the grass or whatever. But it was really strange. But as the dream goes on, I start conversating with this older lady, and she starts looking around, and she pretty much says, we really not going to get anything done, I guess because of how bad the area looked. So she calls her two grandkids back to her, and we all actually go back to her house, right? And when we get to her house, okay, she's a really kind lady. She's very hospitable, right? But once we're there at her house, this guy comes in. Now, he was a Jake too, and in my dream, I'm thinking, okay, this may be her son, okay, because he wasn't a child, he was an adult. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is probably her son. But what happens next is what's most telling. Now, he has a complete opposite spirit of the elder lady. Okay, he was not hospitable at all towards me. Okay, and long story short, he actually tries to get me to take the mark, right? So in my dream, I'm thinking to myself, okay, he must work for the government or have some type of high-ranking job within society to, feel like he has the authority to get me to take this mark, right? So as the dream goes on, he tries to get me to take the mark, and of course I deny. I'm not taking the mark. And what happens next was very peculiar, right? What happens next is he makes me sign this contract, okay? And this contract was pretty much proof that I denied taking the mark. Now, he had to sign it, and he did. He signed it first, and then I signed it, pretty much saying that, I refused to take the mark. I know it's a very strange dream, but it gets even weirder, right? So next, he pulls out what looks to be a remote control, okay? And this remote control, I know it was one distinct button on it that was pretty much bigger than the rest. It almost looked like a television remote, but it was one big button in the middle. And what he said to me, he says, "Don't you know I can push this button and have the firing squad will be here within a matter of minutes." That's what he said. Okay. I can push this button and the firing squad will be here within a matter of minutes. Okay. So he's pretty much still threatening me, trying to get me to change my mind and take this mark. Okay. But I still refuse. Right. And there's one thing that stopped him from actually pushing that button. And it's a question that I asked him. And I asked him this. I say, "So do you have the mark?" And strangely enough, his countenance changed. Okay. This proud spirit that he had started to diminish. Okay. He was cut. And all of a sudden, he didn't even say anything. We were all in the living room and he goes to the bathroom. Right. And, I'm kind of puzzled at this point, because I'm thinking to myself, as much as you're trying to push me to take this mark, I don't even think you have it yourself. Right. So as the dream goes on, he comes out the bathroom and he's still in the back, and I go back there and I confront him and I'm like, "You don't even have the mark yourself, do you?" And like I said, at this point, his countenance has changed and he's more friendly now. And he says, in a joking way, he says, "I could still push this button. You know that, right?" And he kind of laughs after that, because, he's cut at this minute, because he don't even have the mark himself. So now he's starting to look a little confused, and he asks me this question. He asks, "What made you continue to reject the mark when I threatened you with the firing squad?" And I answer by saying, "I still have more souls to bring to repentance." Letting us know that a lot of brothers and sisters are going to be repenting based on the works of different brothers during Jacob's trouble. So Yahweh made a way. And in the midst of all of that, the Most High delivered me from being taken away by the firing squad. Okay, he made a way. He made a way when it looked like there was no way for me to escape this situation. Okay, the scriptures talk about how the righteous is going to be scarcely saved. Okay, and there's going to be many situations like that during Jacob's trouble, but you have to keep the faith. All right. So with that being said, let's hit a few precepts concerning this dream and bring it to a close. Okay, I'm not going to make this one too lengthy, but let's get into the scriptures and see what we have. All right. So starting off, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 2 and verse 10. And it reads, "Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Now we know that's not a literal 10 days. It's a dispensation of time. And it goes on to say, "Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." Okay, so we see some of the things that's going to happen to the children of Israel during Jacob's trouble. Okay, says some of you shall be cast into prison. And that's what I was being threatened with in this dream. Well, actually, I was being threatened with the firing squad. Okay, but why is this going to be happening? When you look at the middle of verse 10, it says that ye may be tried. Okay, our faith is going to be tried during this time. During this time known as Jacob's trouble, our faith is going to be tried. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. And it reads, "Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. This is the time where your faith is going to be tried, okay? We're really going to see who's on the Lord's side during this time, okay? Because a lot of people are going to fall by the wayside. Even people that you thought may have been strong in this truth. Okay, this is the ultimate test, okay? This is the quote unquote final boss. For you brothers that are into video games, this is the final boss, okay? This is the time your faith is going to be tried, okay? And you have to endure unto the end. Okay, this is the time where you have to cleave unto him, as the scriptures say, right? Let's head back to the book of Revelation, okay? This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10, and it reads, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth." Right. So we see the middle of the verse says, "I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation." Now, what is this hour of temptation? This is going into Jacob's trouble. Okay. And the Most High said, "I will keep thee from the hour of temptation." Now, what is this going into? Remember what we read in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter. It talks about how even within the temptation, the Most High, he'll make a way out of it. Okay, let's actually get that. Let's go there. Let's go to 1 Corinthians real quick. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. And it reads, "There hath no temptation taken you but such as is common to man. But God is faithful." So, of course, the first part says there hath no temptation taken you, but as is common to man. Okay. And this can also be applied to Jacob's trouble. Now, we know this is going to be a time like no other in history. But what we have to understand is, even in the past, our forefathers were put in life and death situations where they had to put complete trust and faith in Yahweh. Okay, and that's the same situations we're going to be put in. Okay, just on a whole nother level. But that's why the scriptures talk about how the things that are written aforetime are written for our learning. Okay, so that's why it's going into, "There hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able." Okay, so you gotta go through this, okay? You have to go through Jacob's trouble. It's a time to try our faith and to refine us as gold is refined, so we're worthy of the kingdom. Okay, it goes on to say what? "But will with the temptation also make a way to escape." Right. And this is what happened in my dream. Okay, I was being threatened with a firing squad. Okay, but the Most High still made a way. Okay, he made the person that seemed like my enemy to humble himself. Okay, and he can do the same for anybody during this time. The Most High can do anything. He can deliver you out of any situation. All right, so now let's pick back up where we left off at in the book of Revelation. All right, this is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10, and it reads, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation." And we just expounded upon how the Most High will make a way out of that temptation right in the midst of it. Okay, so it goes on to say, "Which shall come upon all the world, to try them that dwell upon the earth." Okay, now watch closely in the next verse. It says, "Behold, I come quickly. Hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. Okay, now notice the end of verse 11 says that no man take thy crown. And notice not the beginning, but the middle of verse 10 talks about how he'll keep us from the hour of temptation. So verse 10 starts off by talking about that temptation, and verse 11 ends about the crown you'll receive. Okay? Because as we know through the precepts, if you endure temptation, you're going to receive that crown. Okay, let's go into it. Let's go to the book of James and expound on that. This is James chapter 1 and verse 12, and it reads, "Blessed is the man that endured temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him." So when you look at the middle of the verse, it talks about, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life. Now, this is the same thing we just read in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, right? Remember, in the book of Revelation, chapter 3, it talked about the hour of temptation, right? And then the very next verse goes into receiving that crown, okay? So you have to endure that temptation in order to receive that crown. But the sad part about it is, during Jacob's trouble, a lot of people are not going to endure that temptation. Okay, they're going to choose to save their own life by taking the mark, okay, that RFID chip, right? And that's not what you want to do. That's why Yahweh Shai taught on things like this. Let's get into it. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 16, starting at verse 24, and it reads, "Then said Yahweh Shai unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross and follow me." Now we know the cross represents what? The trials and tribulations of this life, okay? And we know that the ultimate trials and tribulations we're going to go through is going to be during Jacob's trouble. Okay, let's look at the next verse, verse 25, and it reads, "For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it." Okay, so during that time, you have to be willing to lose your own life to receive life, okay, the everlasting life, the kingdom, okay? That's why in my dream, even when the brother threatened to send the firing squad to come get me, you know, I wasn't moved, okay? I stood my ground and I still refused to take the mark, okay? That represented me losing my life in order to find it, okay? So now, let's wrap it up in the book of 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter. Okay? This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, starting at verse 37. And it reads, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack." Okay, meaning they're coming. Okay? And they're not going to drag their feet. Okay? Those plagues are coming, and they're coming quick. And you should be able to look in the news and everywhere in the world and see that those plagues are coming quickly. All right. So verse 38, and it reads, "As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment." Okay, dealing with these plagues, right? But notice something. Notice the middle of the verse talks about with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb. Okay, dealing with those labor pains. So the last 2 or 3 hours are the hardest. It's the most excruciating, right? But notice when you go to the book of Revelation, chapter 3, Jacob's trouble is referred to as the hour of temptation. Okay, so Jacob's trouble is that last hour of labor pains that the children of Israel is going to be going through before this son or this child is born. Okay, that great joy that comes forth after those birth pains, which in this case is the kingdom. Okay, so it goes on to say, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Okay, so when a child is born, it's inevitable that the woman is going to go through these labor pains the same way that the children of Israel has to go through Jacob's trouble. Okay, but we have to understand, just like when a woman is going through those labor pains, you know, after that, there's a great joy that comes, right? And that being the child being born. So likewise, after the children of Israel goes through our labor pains, that being Jacob's trouble, a great joy is going to come to us, which is the kingdom. Okay, this is verse 39, and it reads, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side. Okay, so this is something that we have to go through, and it's going to be everywhere. And we know it's mainly going to be in America, but as we see, it's going to be the whole world. Okay, so we have to prepare our souls for this. All right. So with that being said, I believe this is a good place to actually end the video. Again, the title of this video is Don't Lose Faith. Make the right choice. Jacob's Trouble, Dream Edition. Okay. This video was inspired by a dream I had last night, of course. And, Spirit moved me to actually do a video about it and touch on different precepts. Okay. So with that being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Racha Kwadash. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And until next time, Shalom, family.